Hello world! In the last video we talked about changing properties on nodes, but we can only effectively change a node's property if we know how to call the node. Node paths can be complicated to understand in the beginning, but I will break them down in simple terms for you and we will look at them step by step. This will be a beginner video that shows you how to access every single node in your scene tree to change their properties. It is important to keep in mind that node paths are always relative to the node holding the script, but you'll see it more clearly in the following examples. And at the end of the video, I show you two nice hacks to be more type safe and to make the process easier. So in the last video, we made this sprite here rotate around its own axis. So if we press play, this is what will happen. That is exactly what we want. But we've also seen that if we jump in our script, if we don't put in the node path in here and just call rotation, what we do is effectively call the rotation on the node holding the script, and then we have this effect going on, which is vastly different. So what is happening here is that we are rotating now the main node, which is sitting up here in the corner. We rotate this, obviously we rotate around the axis and all of its children rotate with it. So that's not what we want. What we want is to rotate the sprite itself. This is why we need the node path to this node to rotate only this. Accessing this node is possible through two different ways. One is the get node annotation, and we want to get the node blue. He's already auto-fulfilling it for us. And then we call the property that we want to use from this node. It is the same, and it does exactly the same as using the $sign notation, which would be, we call on the node blue and also get the rotation. Good. So we will see that both of them work just the same. So first we'll go with our $sign notation. That works. And then we will go with our get node function. Works just as well. Now this is all and good, but things start to break if we start moving around this node. If we add, for example, another node, and we just add any node to D and put it as a children down here, then this is not going to work anymore. This will throw an error because rotation is try to be called on base null instance. What this means, this null instance, is he did not find the node that we wanted to call on. If we want to now find the blue node, we would have to give it a different path. Our get node is quite smart and he can auto-fulfill the possibilities for us. So what you see here is what we first have to do is we need to call our node to D, and then we take a child of the node to D, which is the blue. And this way it will work again. And also with our $sign notation, it's exactly the same. So first we have to give it the path of node to D and then find a child of this node to D. And like this, it works again. Great. And this can be repeated as many times as you want. So if we put a children of a children and a children, that only means that we have to get more dashes in here, which would be then node to D, then node to D, 3, and then the blue. And it still works. So it's just a matter of how many nodes do I have to go down. And to go down a node, you do it by using our slashes. Now, obviously, just for the purpose of showing, that is the same here as well. So if I do this, that has the same result. Okay, good. But what if we want to not call down our scene tree, but we want to call it up? Let me first reallocate our script. And let's say we want to call the node to D that is above our node, which is a children of the node to D. In this case, we have a little issue here because we don't get a path autocomplete. But what is showing us here is this dot sign. This dot means that we are calling the node itself holding the script. And if we put another dot in there, this means we are calling the node that is above the one holding our script. Now we are on this node. And we can repeat the same thing that we did before. and put a slash in to say we want to do another call. We go up one more node. Now we're sitting on the node to D. And here on the node to D, we can then say, find me the node called blue. And if we did everything right, this is going to work just fine. There we go, it works. To show you how it wouldn't work, let's erase one of the dots, and it complains that it couldn't find the node. You can do obviously the same thing again with our dollar notation, but keep in mind that when we use these dot notations, he expects us to give it the quotation marks. Because if we don't give it the quotation marks, he will not be able to distinguish whether we're using a simple dot for calling some properties on a node, or if we really want to go, for example, calling the same node that's holding the script. So with this, we would call our node 3, or we would want to go up one level to the parent node. We could also do the same thing. We keep going, and then we try to find a node called blue. And here, if we play again, it works. What's also possible in this case, instead of using the $sign or our get node, what we can do is we can tell him to get our parent node. When we call get parent, that means get me the node that's above the node holding the script. And we can repeat that function as many times as we need to work ourselves up the scene tree. So we say we want to get the parent, and get the parent, that means we want to get this node, and the parent of this node is the node to D. And here then we can get our node blue with our get node function as before. So here he knows that we can call blue. Great, but this is quite long and very verbose to use. Now let's make an example that we want to call a node that is on the same level of hierarchy as the node that we want to call, which is called a sibling node. We can erase this one for the time being, we don't need it. And we want to access the blue that is a sibling node. To be able to call the sibling node, what you have to do is first go up one level in the hierarchy to the one that's holding both of them, and then find your sibling node. In this case, what we would do is we call the parent with a double dot notation, or we write get parent, and then we tell him, get me the node that is the one that I want to access, which is my node to D. And then we tell him, get my sprite called blue. And just like this, we again found our node. Now let's erase the script and give it to our blue. So we make it extend sprite to D. And this time I want to show you just how you can call yourself in script, which is pretty much as easy as not writing anything, as we saw in the beginning. You can just call rotation, which is a property of this node. And since it's holding the script, it knows I want to call the property of the node that's holding the script. Or you can also use just this notation to call on itself, and then a dot to access this node's property. Calling this shows the exact same results. Now there are two things that I absolutely recommend you to use in Godot, which are very nice hacks and tricks. And the first thing is that if you want to have a node path, all you have to do is to drag and drop it into your scene. And you can do it just by holding it and bringing it over to your scene. It auto-completes the node path to that node. But it was important to me that you understand how all of this works under the hood. Second thing is, and I really highly recommend you to use that a lot, is if you make a right click and you go down to the bottom here where it says access as unique name. What this does is that in the whole theme tree, there now can only be one node that is called blue. And with this, what we enable is that we can, instead of a $sign, we can give it a %sign, the sign that you can see here. And then we can call the node from anywhere in our scene. It doesn't matter where it is. We just have to call this name because it knows there can only be one node with that name in my scene tree. And no matter where this node now sits, it will always call the proper node. I can put it as I want. I can make as many childs as I want. No matter where I put my node, I cannot break my code anymore. It always will find this node to perform the action on. And this is also possible, of course, if we write our getNode function and then we write our blue inside, but you have to keep in mind to give it our percentage sign. If you truly want to master the manipulation of any node in Godot, I recommend you to also check out my video on how to access any property of any node in Godot. And that's already it for today. Keep creating games and see you in the next one.